Welcome back to our homestead, everyone, and welcome back to the garden. We're so excited that you're here. Today, we're going to talk about how you can get the most out of your fall garden. We're going to talk about how to plant in a fall garden, when to plant, and most importantly, what to plant, including 17 different varieties of vegetables that are great for a fall garden in any zone. Now make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up and like on the video, and share it with your friends. Now let's get going. Okay, first things first, we're going to talk about the 5 main points about doing a fall and winter garden. Point number 1. Okay, point number 1. We're going to talk about when to start your fall garden. So for whatever zone you're in, you're going to want to count backwards from your first average frost date, 12 to 14 weeks. From there, you're going to start certain plants indoors, like your cruciferous vegetables, like your broccolis, your cauliflowers, your kales, and collards, all of those, cabbages. You can start them indoors 12 to 14 weeks before that first frost. For us, that is going to be in about 2 or 3 weeks from now. We're in mid-August, and our first frost kill date is in maybe first week of December here in zone 8B. The cool thing is if you're late, you can direct sow all your seeds in the garden. Now we actually prefer to do that, and look for an upcoming video from us talking about how to direct sow seeds in the garden and exactly when to do each one. Out of the 17 that I'm going to talk about, we're going to let you know exactly when to do each one and the steps to do that, including a cool method on how to keep moisture on your seeds so they germinate if you do direct sow in the late summer for fall harvest. Point number 2. So this is a great time of year to reinvigorate your soil. You're pulling out those vegetables that have run their course through the summer that you planted in the spring, and you need to amend your soil. Now we like to add compost from our compost pile or some composted horse manure. We also add worm castings, azomite, a whole bunch of different things. But there's also something else really cool that you can do, and that is to plant heavy nitrogen feeding crops like spinach and cabbage into areas where in the summertime and springtime you've had heavy nitrogen fixers. Like here we've got beans, snap beans, just bush beans, that are run the course, and we had peas right next to them in the early spring. So this bed has a ton of nitrogen fixed into it from this early part of the year, and we're going to plant those heavy nitrogen feeders here to balance that soil back out. Point number 3. This is a great time to actually try new varieties in your garden. So this year we're going to be planting some Chinese cabbage and also some shallots, which work really well in the cold weather. Now I know Chinese cabbage can handle a heavy frost on it and come out unscathed, so that is really cool. We're going to give it a try in the garden this year and see how it does. Point number 4. Point number 4 is about watering. So when planting a fall garden, you are doing it in the late summer. Late summer here in zone 8B in Texas is hot. It is 100 degrees out today, and in 2 weeks it's only predicted to cool off maybe 5 to 8 degrees. So it's still going to be ridiculously hot, and that's when I need to start planting. So water is your best friend. We've got some sweet potatoes in here. I'm going to be watering everything down again today because it's been so ridiculously hot. But like I mentioned before, especially when you're germinating seeds, if you direct sow out here, even if you've got some little seedlings that you get in the garden and it's still hot at the end of the summer going into the fall, you need to make sure you manage the water properly. Keep that soil damp. Don't drown them, but keep it damp. Now more than ever is a time to worry about that, because that summer hot sun will dry things up really quickly, as evident by what we got going on here in East Texas. Point number 5. Point number 5 is about adding extra mulch to your garden. So we like to add, either wood chips or our decay and drying leaves from our leaf harvest off our trees last year. And what that does is help us, one, with weed management, at the end of summer because it is still hot and those weeds are still going like crazy. And two, it also helps us with that moisture management that I talked about. So that moisture management for newly sown seeds is really important, and mulches are going to help you do that. Another cool way to handle weed control is to plant big broadleaf plants like these collard greens here. What those do is they shade out the weeds under and below. So collards are great to keep an area, weed free, because nothing is really going to grow below them. All right, let's talk about all those great vegetables that you can plant in your fall garden and for fall and winter. So first, and probably the most well known, are your root vegetables: carrots, parsnips, and beets. And we're going to be planting a lot of those this year for storage and for overwintering. For spring harvest, they're going to be amazing. Also, you can plant radishes, which is also a root vegetable. You can plant them at the end of summer and you're going to get a quick harvest out of those. So those are really fantastic as well. Also well known are your winter squashes. And we have got, of course, some butternut squash and my wife's favorite, which is the delicata, the honeyboat delicata. There's two different ones. And this is the highest sugar content winter squash that you can purchase. It's really fantastic. Additionally, added on to that are pumpkins. You can grow pumpkins, they are a squash, and that is classic, obviously, in a fall and winter garden. All right, we talked about them earlier, and here they are. This is our Napa cabbage, or Chinese cabbage, that we're going to be planting this year in the garden, and these are obviously authentic. So this is really cool. We're excited about this. Always make sure when fall gardening that you're planting your garlic. This is really important because garlic takes an incredibly long time to grow and mature, about 9 months. So we have got a couple of videos that we want you to watch. We're going to put them up here on how to plant and how to harvest garlic. Our next category are our cruciferous vegetables. We have got collard greens, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and cauliflowers. All those are going to do amazing in a fall garden. They love the cold. The sweetness you get from the cold on some of these vegetables is amazing. Like the collard greens, unbelievable. I've always had them cooked in the past, but in the past couple of years we've eaten them raw in the garden after the cold is set, and they are beautifully sweet. I recommend using them in a salad. Next up, leafy greens. We've got our spinaches, lettuces, and things of that nature. They love the cold, especially spinach. It overwinters very nicely, and those are important for a fall and winter garden. Additionally, those are vegetables that you can continually harvest. They'll continue to produce for you throughout their growing season. Last but not least are beans and peas. Now peas, of course, love the cold weather. So you want to get these going in time to just take advantage of that cold weather and that cool weather of the fall. These will produce for you in the fall. They won't overwinter, obviously, but they'll produce fantastically as soon as that weather starts to cool down. And beans, you can plant beans almost throughout the year. They love to produce in a lot of different temperatures. They won't overwinter, obviously, but they also like that cold. They're producing right now in this heat in my garden, but they also like that cool weather, which is really cool. Thank you so much for joining us once again on our homestead and in our garden. We hope this information was helpful for you in planning your fall and winter garden. Make sure you stick around with us on a permanent basis by hitting that subscribe button, like the video, and leave us a comment in the comment section below. Do not forget to go visit us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. We have also got our website, which is important because we write a blog over there. We also have our Amazon tool store. Any of the tools, any of the things you see in this video that we use, we highly recommend and we vet before using them. So go and check that out. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we will see you next week on our next video.